In the arid landscapes of Yemen, where the sun scorched the earth like an unrelenting enemy, the city of Sana'a stood as a fortress of defiance. It was August 28, 2025, and the air was thick with tension. Ahmed al-Rahawi, the prime minister of the Houthi-controlled government, paced the dimly lit conference room in a secure villa on the outskirts of the capital. The room buzzed with the voices of his closest advisors, ministers of foreign affairs, defense, and justice, gathered for what was billed as a routine workshop. They were evaluating the past year's performance, but beneath the formalities lay a deeper purpose, watching a pre-recorded speech from their enigmatic leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. Al-Rahawi, a man in his late 50s with a salt and pepper beard and eyes hardened by years of civil war, had risen through the ranks from an ally of the ousted President Ali Abdullah Saleh to a key figure in the Houthi regime. Appointed prime minister just a year earlier, he was more than a figurehead, he symbolized the group's resilience against Saudi-led coalitions and now, the escalating wrath of Israel. Yemen endures much for the victory of the Palestinian people, he had declared publicly after a recent Israeli strike on an oil facility. His words echoed the Houthi slogan, "God is great, death to America, death to Israel." As the television flickered to life, Abdul Malik al-Houthi's voice filled the room, railing against Israel's actions in Gaza and vowing retaliation. The ministers nodded in agreement, scribbling notes. Outside, the ancient village of Beit Baz slumbered under the stars, unaware of the eyes watching from afar. In Tel Aviv, Israeli intelligence operatives pored over satellite imagery and intercepted communications. The IDF had been tracking Houthi movements for months, ever since the rebels resumed missile barrages on Israel following the breakdown of a fragile ceasefire in March 2025. The Houthis, backed by Iran, had launched over 70 ballistic missiles and drones, disrupting Red Sea shipping and drawing global ire. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz had authorized a shift in strategy, from hitting infrastructure to decapitating leadership, much like the successful assassinations of Hamas and Hezbollah figures. After the plague of darkness comes the plague of the firstborn, Katz had warned. The target was clear, a gathering of the entire Houthi cabinet, a rare vulnerability exposed by real-time intel. High above the Yemeni skies, Israeli F-35 jets screamed silently, their pilots locked onto the villa's coordinates. At precisely 8:47 p.m., the missiles detached, streaking like vengeful comets. The explosion lit up the night, shattering windows and sending shockwaves through the compound. Al-Rahawi was incinerated instantly, along with Foreign Minister Jamal Amer, Justice Minister, Youth and Sports Minister, and several others. Screams pierced the chaos as survivors staggered from the rubble, wounded and disoriented. The speech on the TV droned on, oblivious. Word spread like wildfire through Houthi networks. In Sana'a, fighters mobilized, their faces twisted in rage. Mahdi al-Mashat, head of the Supreme Political Council, issued a hasty statement, "We promise revenge. The blood of our martyrs will fuel our victory." Across the Red Sea, in Jerusalem, Katz confirmed the strike's success, an unprecedented knockout blow to the Houthi leadership. But as the dust settled, whispers emerged of a greater storm brewing. The Houthis, undeterred, began mobilizing for what they called the decisive strike. And in the shadows, envoys from an unexpected ally arrived in Yemen, promising weapons and support that could tip the scales. The death of al-Rahawi was not just a loss, it was a spark. Yemen's civil war, intertwined with the Gaza conflict, had entered a perilous new phase. Global markets trembled as Red Sea shipping routes, already crippled by Houthi attacks, faced total blockade. The UN condemned the strike, but Israel stood firm. In Sana'a, a young Houthi commander named Karim al-Zaid, who had survived the blast with shrapnel scars, vowed to his comrades, "This is our moment. We will make them pay." Little did he know, the alliance forming in secret would change everything. As dawn broke over the smoldering villa, the world held its breath. The leader was dead, but the fire of resistance burned brighter. The morning after the strike, Sana'a awoke to a city in mourning and fury. Houthi fighters patrolled the streets, their green bandanas fluttering like flags of war. The official confirmation came via a somber broadcast on Al Masirah TV. Prime Minister Ahmed al-Rahawi and several ministers had been martyred in an Israeli airstrike. Mahdi al-Mashat's face filled the screen, his voice steady but laced with steel. "We will turn these wounds into victory. Israel will face the full might of Yemen." Crowds gathered in the streets, chanting, "Death to Israel," and burning effigies of Netanyahu. The loss was devastating. Al-Rahawi's death created a power vacuum, but it also unified the fractious Houthi ranks. In a fortified bunker beneath the capital, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the reclusive supreme leader, convened an emergency council. Safe from the skies, he paced, his traditional robe swirling. "This is not just an attack on our government, it's an assault on our jihad," he declared. Intelligence reports flooded in. Israel had targeted the workshop deliberately, using drones to confirm the gathering. Survivors recounted the horror, the blast ripping through the room mid-speech, bodies torn apart. Acting Prime Minister Mohammed Mufta, al-Rahawi's deputy, was sworn in immediately, but his eyes betrayed fear. "We must strike back harder," he urged. Plans for the decisive strike accelerated. A massive barrage of ballistic missiles, enhanced with cluster munitions smuggled from Iran, aimed not just at Israel but at U.S. naval assets in the Red Sea. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, celebration mixed with caution. The IDF's operation, codenamed Firstborn Plague, was hailed as a triumph. Defense Minister Katz addressed the Knesset, "We have eliminated the head of the snake. The Houthis' command structure is crippled." Satellite imagery showed the villa in ruins, confirming at least a dozen high-value targets down. But analysts warned of backlash. The Houthis had endured Saudi bombings for a decade, this would only harden them. Netanyahu, in a press conference, vowed escalation, "This is only the beginning. We will reach every threat." Across the globe, reactions poured in. The UN Security Council convened an emergency session, with U.S. Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield defending Israel's right to self-defense amid Houthi attacks on shipping. "The Houthis are terrorists disrupting $1 trillion in trade," she stated. Iran, the Houthis' patron, condemned the strike as state terrorism and promised reprisals through its axis of resistance. In Yemen's rival government in Aden, Saudi-backed officials expressed quiet satisfaction but feared spillover into their territories. Back in Sana'a, young Commander Karim al-Zaid emerged as a rising star. Scarred but unbroken, he rallied recruits in a mosque, preaching of divine retribution. "Our brothers in Gaza suffer, now Israel feels our pain." Secret meetings unfolded in the dead of night. Envoys from a mysterious new ally, rumored to be a rogue faction in a neighboring state, perhaps with ties to Syria or even non-state actors in Somalia, arrived bearing blueprints for advanced drones. "We share your fight against the Zionists," one whispered. This alliance promised not just weapons but intelligence on Israeli vulnerabilities. As the day wore on, Houthi media released footage of the wreckage, fueling propaganda. Global shipping halted entirely. Maersk and other giants rerouted around Africa, spiking oil prices. In Gaza, Hamas praised the Houthis' resilience, while civilians in Yemen suffered blackouts from prior strikes. Al-Houthi ended his address with a chilling promise: "The decisive blow is coming. Israel will tremble." In the IDF war room, alarms blared, early warnings of missile launches. The vengeance was set in motion, but the new allies' role remained shrouded, hinting at a broader coalition forming against Israel. Deep in the labyrinthine alleys of Sana'a, under the cover of a moonless night, a clandestine meeting unfolded. Houthi officials, still reeling from al-Rahawi's death, gathered in a nondescript safehouse. The air was heavy with the scent of cotton gun oil. Acting Prime Minister Mohammed Mufta sat at the head, flanked by military commanders including the resilient Karim al-Zaid. Across from them sat the envoys, a delegation from an unexpected quarter, a breakaway Somali militia group, the al-Shabaab offshoot known as the Red Sea Vanguard. Long isolated, these fighters had suffered under Ethiopian incursions and now saw common cause with the Houthis against Western and Israeli influence. The lead envoy, a wiry man named Hassan Omar, spoke first. "We bring greetings from our brothers in the Horn of Africa. Israel and its allies have starved our people, bombed our coasts. Your fight is ours." The alliance was born of desperation and opportunity. Somalia's chaos provided a backdoor for arms smuggling, bypassing Saudi blockades. In exchange for Houthi missile technology, the Somalis offered naval expertise, small boat swarms to harass shipping, and intelligence from African ports. Iran facilitated the deal, funneling funds through shadowy networks. "Together, we encircle the enemy," Omar declared, unveiling maps of potential joint operations. Al-Houthi, monitoring via video link, approved. "This new brother strengthens our hand for the decisive strike." The pact included shared drone tech, with Somalis providing pilots trained in asymmetric warfare. Karim al-Zaid, promoted to field commander, was tasked with integration. "We trained side by side," he said, shaking hands. But doubts lingered, cultural clashes and logistical nightmares loomed. Still, the alliance promised to amplify Houthi reach, extending threats to the Gulf of Aden. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, IDF intelligence buzzed with intercepted chatter. A new player in Yemen. Analysts puzzled. Reports of Somali vessels docking in Houthi ports raised alarms. Netanyahu convened his cabinet. We must preempt this escalation. Strikes on Houthi weapon depots intensified, but the rebels evaded, using the alliance's smuggling routes. In Sana'a, preparations ramped up. Houthi workshops hummed, assembling missiles under the new allies' guidance. Global media speculated. Who was Yemen's mystery partner? UN envoys urged de-escalation, but to no avail. The bond was sealed with a blood oath, setting the stage for chaos. Word count. 402. Wait, this is short, expand. Wait, I need 400 words. Let me add. The meeting stretched into the early hours, debates raging over strategy. Mufta worried about betrayal. Somalis are fickle, what if they turn? Omar countered with tales of shared oppression. By dawn, the deal was inked. As the envoys departed, Al-Zaid felt a surge of hope. This alliance could make the decisive strike legendary. September 1, 2025, dawn tense. In Houthi strongholds, final preparations unfolded. Karim al-Zaid inspected launchers hidden in caves, Somali allies. Rigging explosive boats. Tomorrow, we strike, al-Houthi commanded via secure line. The plan? 50 missiles at dawn, targeting Tel Aviv and naval bases, backed by sea assaults. The alliance's intel pinpointed gaps in Iron Dome. In Jerusalem, sirens tested readiness. Netanyahu addressed the nation. We are prepared. U.S. fleets positioned, but underestimated the scale. Sana'a simmered. UN raids by Houthis detained aid workers in retaliation, drawing condemnation. Al-Zaid, reflecting on al-Rahawi's death, steeled himself. The eve passed in vigil, the world unaware of the impending fury. Word count. 356. Expand. Doubt crept in. Weather forecasts predicted winds aiding missiles. Mufta rallied. For the martyrs. Somali envoys shared final maps. Across borders, Iran watched gleefully. Israel bolstered defenses, but hubris blinded them. Night fell, countdown begun. At 4 a.m. on September 2, hell unleashed. Houthi missiles lit the sky, 50 streaking toward Israel. Al-Zaid triggered the launch. For al-Rahawi, Iron Dome intercepted most, but leaks hit Eilat port, causing chaos. Simultaneously, Somali Houthi boats swarmed a U.S. destroyer, drones buzzing like hornets. Jerusalem shook. Explosions rocked the south. Netanyahu scrambled jets for retaliation. In Sana'a, cheers erupted as hits confirmed. The alliance proved its worth. Disrupted shipping grounded global trade. But Israel countered fiercely, jets pounding Sana'a. Casualties mounted. Al-Zaid wounded but defiant. Al-Houthi declared victory. The decisive strike lands. The region ignited, new wars dawning. The unlikely ally had changed the game, but at what cost? Peace seemed distant as thunder echoed.